Hey everyone, I've got your answer key here for your sample test. Please make sure that as you're going through this video that you're correcting your work. Number 1 asks, which terms best describe the two lines represented by the equations below? Circle all that apply. So these lines have the same slope but different y-intercepts. So we're going to circle letter A, same slopes, and they are parallel lines because the y-intercepts are different. Number 2, how many solutions does the system of equations have below? If we solve this second equation for y, I didn't do that yet, so if we solve this second equation for y, we're going to add 4x to the other side. We get y equals 4x plus 4. These equations do not have the same slope, so they are going to have one solution. Question 3 asks if 4, negative 2 is a solution of the system of equations below. So if you plug that ordered pair into the first equation, you get 8 plus negative 8. That does not equal negative 2. We don't even have to check the second equation. You just can say no. 4 asks what's the solution of the system of equations. So because these lines are intersecting, we are just looking for where do those lines intersect. And that happens at negative 2, 3, letter B. What is the solution to the system of equations given below? Use the coordinate plane if necessary. This graph does not even go down to negative 18, so I'm not sure why they have that on here. Most of my students last year ended up just solving this system using substitution. So they plugged 5x minus 18 in for y on the second equation. If we subtract x to one side and add 18 to the other, we get 4x equals 20, and then x equals 5. It's kind of nice about multiple choice is that you don't always have to go back in and find out what y is, because there's only one option here where x is 5, and that's letter D. Gary ran 6 more laps than Edwin during track practice. Together they ran 40 laps. For A through C, we're going to determine whether each statement is true or false. So the first is the system of equations that represents the situation is y equals x plus 6. And 6x plus y equals 40. Well, if together they ran 40 laps, we don't know how many either one of them ran. We should have an x plus y equals 40. We definitely do not have that. Gary ran 6 more laps than Edwin. The first equation would work if x is Edwin and y is Gary. That first equation does work, but the second equation should say x plus y equals 40. Which of the following systems of equations has a solution of 1, negative 1? Circle all that apply. So it is A and C. They both work. So we would have to plug that ordered pair in. So in the first equation in letter A, we had a negative 1 in for y. And on the right-hand side, we have 3 times 1 minus 4, which is negative 1. In the second equation, you're plugging 1 in for x and negative 1 in for y. So you get 2 minus 3 equals negative 1. That's true for both of those. And it's the same thing for C. If you plug both of those ordered pairs, 1 minus negative 1 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. 8 asks which method is the best to solve the system. So in this one, we would probably use substitution. We would plug in this 2x plus y from the first, or 2x minus 7 into the y of the second equation. So that's substitution. 9 wants to know which term would be easiest to eliminate in the following system. Remember, there are lots of ways to solve it, but the easiest one to eliminate would be the y, and that's because they already have the opposite coefficients in the front. 10, what's the first step to solving the following system using substitution? So they specifically want you to think about the substitution method. We would substitute this negative 3x plus 7 into y in the second equation. You do not have to do number 11. That's from lesson 6 that we skipped. Which system of inequalities has the solution region in the graph below? So there's a couple of methods here. You could pick a point in that shaded region. Let's say something kind of simple like, let's see, what are those? 1/6. Let's use the 6 then. You could pick something like this 0, 6. and plug it into the different inequalities and see which option that ordered pair works in both of the inequalities. That is going to be letter C. 0 plus 6 is greater than 2, and 6 is greater than 0 plus 3, so it does work in both of them. Your other option would be to rearrange these so that they have, they're all in slope-intercept form, and then look at which one's got graph. Now, if you look carefully at these equations, inequalities are actually all the same. It's just that the symbols, some are greater than, some are less than, some are greater than or equal to, some are less than or equal to. So now you're really just kind of paying attention to the shading. You'll notice that this is the solid line, and we shaded above that, right? There's above above that, whoops, wrong one. Above that solid line here was the shading, and then this is your dotted line, and we also shaded above the dotted line. So couple of different methods there to that one. Try to take the easiest method that you think, either plugging in an ordered pair or just trying to look at the shading. I'm thankful in this one that they weren't like 4 totally different crazy sets of inequalities. All right, moving on. The next part in constructed response, when you determine if the lines are parallel, intersecting, or the same, list the number of solutions and explain. So in number 1, those are intersecting lines. They have one solution, and that's because the slopes are different. In number 2, they are parallel. They have no solutions. And the reason, you have to say more than just the same slope. They have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. Because remember, if it's the same slope and the same y-intercept, then it's the same line, and that's a totally different thing. Number 3, I plugged in that ordered pair and it did not work. 1, 2 did not work. So then I solved it using elimination. You'll see I multiplied the top equation by -4. You can kind of follow my work over here to y equals -1. Then I plugged -1 into the first equation and I got x equals 4. So the ordered pair is 4, -1. 4 and 5, I went ahead and used 2 different colors. On question 4, I distributed that 1/2 through the parentheses and added 2. 1/2 times 8 is -4, that minus 8. 1/2 times -8 is -4. When you add 2, you get -2. When you plot both of these, you'll see they're parallel lines. So down on the blank, I wrote no solution. For number 5, we didn't have to do any kind of rearranging. You see that they do have different slopes, so they should intersect, and they intersect at 2, -2. Number 6, I forgot this from last year. Bravo to those of you who persevered through this one. Originally I got 3y equals 35, and I'm looking at the answer key saying, well, 3 doesn't go into 35. And they were getting -7, and then I remembered from last year that we decided this was a typo that didn't apparently get fixed this year. So that 28, if it's a -28, this problem actually comes out pretty nice. You get 0, -7. I realize that on your paper you didn't do that. I don't even know what the x value would be. The y value was 35 over 3, which is 11 2/3. So if you got y equals 11 2/3, I'm not even going to mess with plugging that in. But anyway, bravo to those of you who persevered through that one and maybe got actually an x value. Number 7, when you substitute, so we use substitution here, I substituted 5x plus 7 into the y of the second equation. I solved for x and got -10. And then when you plug -10 in, remember you can use the first or the second equation. I got y equals -43, so the answer is -10, -43. Number 8, Cloda. I have no idea how to say that name. Cloda? Anyway, C and Eva went school shopping, supply shopping together. C bought 3 packs of pencils and 5 notebooks, total of $18. That's my first equation here in parentheses. Eva bought 4 packs of pencils and 4 notebooks for a total of $16.80. There's her equation there. I went ahead and had to multiply both equations by numbers so that I could get opposite coefficients. So I decided to multiply the top by -4 and the bottom by 3. You might not have done the same thing, but you should still get the same answer. Through elimination, I eliminated the P for pencils and found that the notebooks were $2.70 and a pack of pencils is $1.50. Remember, I do want you to be writing these answers out. I'm just trying to save time. So I just used N and P for notebooks and pencils, but please write the notebooks are $2.70 and pack of pencils are $1.50. You did not have to do 9 or 10. When you get to 11 or 12, again, I tried to do some color coding. I did the top inequalities in red and the bottom inequalities in blue. You did have to rearrange in number 11, that bottom inequality. We had to subtract x over to the other side. And in number 12, to be really careful here, you had to divide by a -3 to get it off of the y, which caused me to flip the symbol. So you'll notice that now it becomes a less than or equal to symbol, and so we shaded underneath that red line. So I'll give you a moment to kind of check those out. You can pause the video if you want to just see my work and compare it with yours. I then went over the overlapping shaded region in red, and actually I just kind of noticed something I did here for that, not that it matters, but for this blue inequality, I stopped at the red line. The shading is actually happening, for this one all the way up here, right? And then the overlap, I stopped at the red line. Okay, we are going to test on Monday. I apologize for not being here for the last 2 days, but I'm pretty sick, so I hope to be better resting tomorrow and over the weekend, and we will test on Monday when we come back to school. So make sure that you've watched this, you look over that sample test again over the weekend, to watch any videos again that you want to, and make sure that you're ready to go.